So when it comes to the paranormal, everyone seems to have a different perspective. And these perspectives often contradict each other, push against each other, and sometimes they make these perspectives that are just insanely complex and often difficult to understand. But my perspective, I find, is the most simplest. And when it comes to these sorts of fields of understanding, the simplest explanation is the best explanation when it comes to something we don't understand yet because science is not caught up with the paranormal yet. So, in my perspective, this is based off of experience, 10 years worth of experience, actually longer, but we'll just say 10 years. There are only four entities on the astral plane. You have the ghost, the spirit guide, the astral fragment, and the demon. And I'm going to go through all the signs that you can experience that will tell you what sort of entity you're dealing with, because each entity has its own unique set of signs. And while some signs can overlap with each other, you can use another sign to help distinguish what type of entity you're dealing with. So we're going to start with the high vibrations. The highest vibration is the spirit guide. The spirit guide, of course, is a sentient being who guides a living being like me or you from the astral plane on the purpose to which you were given the honor to exist for. Now, spirit guides have visual signs and physical signs. First, the visual signs. Most spirit guides actually have a black hooded robe that they wear. This is the same attire that people wear in heaven. It's a black robe. They wear nothing underneath it. It has a hood. And these are mistaken as shadow people. Some people think that shadow people and spirit guides are somehow different. They're not. The reason why spirit guides appear shadowy is because the veil causes some sort of optical distortion that makes the spirit guide appear somewhat formless, and hence the shadowy appearance. So if you see a shadow-like humanoid being on the astral plane, it will always be a spirit guide. Then you have physical contact. Spirit guides do have a physical body. It's somewhat different compared to the physical body that we have, especially given that they're interacting with us on the astral plane. But you will feel hands. You can feel their cloak sometimes if you're very careful, very gentle. You can even feel their physical form. I even felt the hair of one of my spirit guides, and it felt strange. It didn't feel like the hair that a human being has. And then you have even intimate contact. Believe it or not, spirit guides can be intimate with you. And this intimacy, this is something that only spirit guides can do, being that they are a benevolent spirit, that they can have this sort of contact. Now, yes, there is a demon that can also be sexual with you, but that is only done for purposes of breeding, but that's a story for a different day. Now, another visual sign is sometimes you might see some sort of blue light. Now, not a flashing blue light, but some sort of blue light that you might see as if, it's being illuminated by a blue light. And apparently that is a sign of a spirit guide. So then we got ghosts. Now, ghosts are different from spirit guides because they do not have a physical body. They have a metaphysical body. They have the transdermal plasma layer, which is the outer skin of the ghost. Then they have the ion field, and then the central vortex. The central vortex is the soul of the entity. Okay, so when you become a ghost, the soul that occupies your body now will become the central vortex of the ghost when you expire. So ghosts, they can make physical contact with you despite the fact of not having a physical body. And the sign of this is when you have the cold spots. People talk about cold spots when there's paranormal activity. But this is the ghost literally making physical contact with you. Your body knows that something is touching the body, but it can't figure that out using any of your five senses, so it registers as shock. And that is basically your body saying, hey, something's touching you, but I don't know what it is, so this is weird. This is shocking. Another visual sign, now we have the visual signs. The visual sign would be the blue flashes. Okay, so the ghost has an ion field. An ion field enables it to collect energy so it can cause disturbances such as knocking on objects or sometimes causing a loud crash that you can literally hear it on the other side of the house. And they require electrical sources to feed. So when you see this blue flash, it will be about the size of a human being, and the average size of a human being. Okay, that is a ghost feeding to create energy so it can cause these disturbances. And then finally, you might see the central vortex of a ghost. This is a large vortex. I think it's about this big. I could be wrong, but you'd be able to tell the vortex, the alpha sentience of a ghost compared to that of an astral fragment or a demon, because those are going to be smaller. And when you see these golden orbs, that would be a ghost. Now, a ghost can sometimes manifest, but when we say manifest, that's basically it will reveal part of its actual form, the form that it would be in heaven. So you might see, say, a gray or another sort of humanoid, but you will only see it from the head down to probably right above the hips or the waist, and that would be a very interesting way for a ghost to reveal its presence. And I think that's one that's not done that often because it takes a lot of energy to do that. And I think a ghost usually has the mind to simply cause disturbances like knocking because, well, those don't take as much energy, and it's not as tiring for a ghost, and it doesn't need to collect all that energy after expending it on just one disturbance when it could cause multiple disturbances through knocking. And so now we're going to move into the lower vibrations. The astral fragments is going to be the first. Now, astral fragments are primitive but malicious entities that take the form of animals and insects. Of course, you'll see some that we have a living counterpart for on this planet. And sometimes you'll see animals and insects that we do not have a living counterpart for on this planet, but could be found on other planets. So the most common visual sign for an astral fragment is the alpha sentience of an astral fragment. So if we're talking orbs, they're color-coded. So you have red, white, and green. Okay, the white indicates a ground-based creature. Red indicates a flying-based creature. And of course, green would be a water-based creature. Okay. These are the most common visual signs for someone to see when it comes to an astral fragment. Now, it's possible to see the actual creature that the astral fragment is, but you really got to see deep into the veil, and usually you will see that most likely when the veil is at its thinnest, which can be at multiple parts of the year, but around October, around the Halloween, when the veil is at its thinnest, that's probably the best time that a paranormal medium will be able to see the actual entities. Okay, and then we got physical signs. Basically, if you feel something touching you that feels like an animal touching you or an insect touching you, that's an astral fragment. Now, there are some astral fragments that can actually physically attack you. Stings and biting you and even licking you are signs that an astral fragment is draining life force. For example, when I was being attacked by astral fragments, these things that resembled foxes in my mind's eye, whenever I laid down at bed at night, they would run to me and start licking the top of my head here. And there was like a little pink mark right here that would be left behind after they do this, and they do it every single night. It was very annoying. And so that was the other sign. And most of the time, astral fragments, though, however, you don't see them too much, okay? But they are everywhere. They are everywhere in your house right now, even in places you aren't able to reach, such as in the piping or the pipes of your system, like in the commode or the bathtub or the sink drain. I mean, they are everywhere. And even if you were to cleanse the house with sage or holy water, that would treat the infestation, but it would not eliminate it entirely. And then you have the demons. Okay, demons are malicious entities that are sentient. And their role, as it is now, is to drain the life force off of a human being or another spiritually advanced being, and then when the being dies, walk the soul of that being into the light. Now, I'm going to focus on demonic hauntings because demonic possession is a story for another day. Demonic hauntings are perhaps the most disturbing, for lack of a better word, because first off, you have poltergeist activity. Now, a lot of people say poltergeists are their own independent entity, but that's not true. So poltergeist activity, such as shaking furniture, like your nightstand might be shaking, even your bed might be shaking. If you see furniture that is shaking and there is no rational explanation, that is the sign that there is a demon present. Another is foul odors, odors of human filth or rotten meat. If you smell those odors and there's no rational explanation to it, that is yet another sign that there is a demon in your home or in the building, because demons sometimes can, for example, make a lair in an office building. And then you have the most disturbing sign of a demonic haunting, and that is displacement. You see, demons will observe the occupants of a house and then take objects that the demon believes are valuable to the occupants and teleport these objects to a random part of the house or on the property. And so you might, for example, take something like a document or your keys or something, and you might knew where you put them, but then all of a sudden they disappear and you'll find them somewhere in the house that you knew you would not leave them. Like, for example, when I had a demonic haunting in my apartment, not my apartment, but the house that I lived in before I moved out to my first apartment, which also had a demonic haunting. I'll make a video on that another day. I remember I was brushing my teeth, preparing to go out and do something, and I had my keys right next to me on the counter where the sink was. When I was done cleaning my teeth, I reached for my keys and they were not there. And so I literally went around my bedroom, my keys were not there. And then I go out into the living room and found the keys literally in the center of the living room on the floor. Why would I leave my keys on the floor? Especially, that's not a place I would put them. And so displacement definitely is a huge sign that there is a demon in the house. And so there you have it. These are all the entities done on the astral plane and how to distinguish one from another. Because remember, each entity has a pattern of disturbances, okay? And this guide that I've just given you, I also have a written guide as well on Reddit. If you want to find me, it's on, my username is Prophet John Awad. That would be useful when you have paranormal activity in helping you determine what you're dealing with. And also, I could give you a video and even literature on how to treat these hauntings. And so there's another thing I would like to talk about in another video, and I'm going to get into that with my next video. And that is certain types of entities that actually are talked a lot about in the paranormal community, but are not talked about, but are not true. We're talking about mimics and tricksters and other entities that are found in mythology, and that people believe that because they're mentioned in these ancient literature that they somehow must be true, especially from a society that back in the day was a lot more spiritual than we are today. And so I'd like to hear from any of you. Have you had any of these experiences before? Did any of the signs that I mentioned, have you seen that? Have you experienced it? And, what did you do? And so be sure to like and follow, and I'll see you on the next video. Have a good day.